Hey, what is up guys? Guitar Rock here, welcome back to another Blue Archive video. So I figured today's video we'll talk a little bit more about the meta because the other day I talked about this on my stream and I figured maybe this is going to be something that is better in a video format to inform you guys of the upcoming meta once Kisaki comes and maybe later on for Rio, right? So if you guys are not aware, Kisaki is going to be a very strong character and she's going to come next week. At the time of me making this video, of course, she's going to be a very strong, very unique character because she's the only character, the only student in the game that can increase EX skill damage by a percentage, right? And that's going to be a very good scaling if you are looking to tackle end game. Now, if you are trying to tackle just the campaign, story and whatsoever, you probably don't need her as much, but if you're trying to strive towards meta in the Total Assault, Grand Assault, that's going to be the raid bosses of this game, that is going to be the end game for most players, then of course, this is going to be something that you're trying to strive for. Now, Kisaki is going to come very soon, but after that, make sure you guys are paying attention to the next strongest special student, alright? You want to pay attention to the idol students as well, and also the 6% banner later on that's going to come a little bit later this year, Rio and Souce Hanako, and of course, you know, Seiya as well. These are going to be the staple support for most players, I would say, right? If you are new, if you are an intermediate player, or if you are an advanced player, you're a veteran player, that's going to be something that you want to look forward to. So let's jump into it, right? Alright, so let's use this particular room to explain to you guys what the meta is like right now if you're tackling, you know, those raid bosses that I mentioned earlier. So something that you'll see a lot if you are trying to tackle, depending on the boss, you are most likely going to have these two staple supporters, and that's going to be Akko and Himari. So this is going to pretty much fill your special slot. Now, what makes Akko and Himari extremely unique and extremely strong, and something that a lot of players strive towards using, is Akko, her role is going to be a crit damage buffer. Alright, as you can see, she provides crit rate and crit damage, but in all eventuality, crit damage is going to be her main purpose because you can basically restart or retry to try to crit, right? That's something that you can strive towards. She has a few other things as well, like healing and stuff, but this is going to be her main purpose. And Himari is going to give two things. Number one, she's an attack buffer right here. She buffs by 105% attack, very high. But number two, she also acts as a cost recovery. That means that you basically fill up the bar faster. You are going to be able to cast your skills more often, making her one of the most staple characters right now. So these are going to be something that you'll see a lot, Akko, Himari. Now, as for the rest of this striker slot, you're going to be filled with a few different options, right? Depending on the boss and depending on the DPS, you're probably going to have a few different things. First things first, we're going to have our cost reduction or our cost half, and that's going to be Ui. She's probably going to fill a slot right there, right? You're probably going to have a DPS as well, alright, that's going to fill a slot. And then the last slot, it can be anyone depending on what are the boss that you need to fight against. So if you're fighting, like let's say Gauss, you need a characters that can move your students around, then you need Tracksuit Yuka. But if you're fighting someone like Hieronymus, you're gonna need healers, then you're gonna put something like Koharu or Kokona right here, right? But ideally, you're gonna have one DPS character, one cost half student, one crit rate, crit damage buffer, one attack buffer, and the last one is going to be the element buffer. Alright, in this case, Souce Hoshino, what she does is she's going to provide in terms of improving the explosive effectiveness. Now, if you're fighting a raid boss, alright, explosive type, she's going to be strong right there. Now, if you're fighting a blue boss, alright, so that's where we have something like New Year Kayoko. So she's going to fill this particular slot, she's going to give the mystic effectiveness. Now, if you're fighting a yellow boss, alright, like Bina for example, that's where Swimsuit Ui is going to fill this slot, alright, for the piercing effectiveness. Sonic Raids then Kikiao is going to fill this slot to improve your mystic or sonic effectiveness rather right here, right? Now the truth is, this slot is probably going to be less relevant. The effectiveness characters, they are probably the least important. Not to say that they are bad, they are definitely still essential to trying to get decent score in certain raids, right? If you have to pick one to sacrifice or to let go of for a new player, this is going to be more important, the one in the special slot, because that's going to be something that you use in every single raid, whereas the one that is improving that element's effectiveness, you're only going to use them specific to the raid. Hopefully that makes sense, right? That means you are investing in less useful characters or much more specialized characters that only works in certain specific raids compared to these two like Akko and Himari where you use them everywhere. once Kisaki comes, this is going to change a little bit because we still have the cost hover, you still have the element effectiveness character, you still have your DPS, you're still gonna have your crit rate, crit damage buffer, but you're gonna replace Himari. Himari will be replaced by Kisaki. Alright, so that's going to be something that you have to keep in mind. Kisaki is gonna take that slot for Himari because we're gonna have the EX skill damage improvements and we're also gonna have the cost recovery right here. Just so you know, you cannot stack these two sub-skills together. You cannot put Himari and Kisaki together. That's why you take Himari out because of this particular cost recovery skill. Sub-skill cannot be stacked, right? So when you take Himari out, that means you're lacking in the attack percent slot. So that's where Camping Hair comes in. Alright, so you are going to use her right here. So she is going to be staple and sort of meta for a lot of players. If you have her, that's where she comes in and she's going to fill this particular slot. Alright, so she is going to be a character very cheap, very easy to use. She's 2 cost as well and she also gives you 80% for one ally other than the user. So as you can see, you are losing a little bit of attack percent there, right? Because Himari is still 100%, but you lose 20%, but actually you don't really lose damage because Kisaki is going to overpower that, right? Filling this slot. So now you can see, this is going to be the meta that we're going to move towards in the next few months, I would say, once Kisaki comes. Alright, you're going to see something like this. However, once Rio comes, things are going to change again. Alright, as you can see in the JP meta right now, things are starting to shift towards a little bit. So what can Rio do? Alright, just so you guys know, if you guys missed my previous video, she's a character that duplicates an ally's EX skill card. That means your DPS characters can perform more actions, and also she gives you attack percent buff right here. And if you look at the sub-skill, alright, increase attack of all allies by 17.3%, and of course, she can also reduce defense. She's a very strong character. So basically, duplicating EX skill card and also reducing it by 1, that means the EX cost, like say, after half is like 3, she's going to reduce it even further to become 2. Very good in that instance. You are going to be able to benefit a lot from her. Now, notice she also gives you a little bit of attack percent right there, 51%, which is still not as high as what the camping student that we have right here provides, right? Because she gives 80%. But because now Rio is going to also, you cannot stack 2 attack percent buff together, just so you guys know, in case anybody is wondering, right? So now we are going to basically take Akko out. We're going to put Rio and Kisaki here. Alright, this is going to fill the slot. And then we're going to take her out because we don't need the attack percent buff from the camping student anymore. So therefore, the student that shines right now is going to be Dress Aru. Now in the JP meta, this seems to be the staple right now. Alright, so let me show you guys some example. You can see right here, this is going to be something that you'll see a lot, right? We have so this is specifically for Kurokage raids. We got the DPS of Swimsuit Hanako, Kikyo as a complementary support for her, for the sonic efficiency. And then we got Dress Aru, she's going to be the crit damage buffer. And Kisaki and Rio is going to be there. Idol Mary is going to be your healer. So again, Dress Aru seems to be the staple moving forward alongside with Kisaki and Rio, and that's going to be my prediction moving forward. Obviously, we still gotta wait a little bit more to see more of the different raid bosses, but I strongly believe that that is going to be how it is. Preferably, you will want these 3 students. Now, personally, I do not own a Dress Aru, which is a little bit unfortunate. I was hoping I could spook her in my recent 6% banner, but that did not happen. So there's that. That's going to be something that I may regret later on. If you do have Dress Aru, consider building her. She's probably going to be one of the better students as well, right? So the truth is, crit damage buffer on the striker slot is going to be between her. She doesn't give crit rate, unlike Akko, alright? So that's something to keep in mind. She only gives crit damage, 83%, but still, that's probably more than enough. The next best option that is not Dress Aru, perhaps is going to be, for now, Dress Akko, which is a little bit weird. Don't recommend her as much because she's much more expensive at 5 cost. However, she does have the AoE and also a little bit of crit rate increase as well. So maybe in some circumstances you can still get away with using her, right? In the foreseeable future, unless Kisaki or Rio will have a striker counterpart, these 2 slots are just too important, alright? Which is why I always advise players, you want to try to get characters like Tracksuit Yuka, because you don't want to use anything from your special slot students to be other than Kisaki and Rio. That's going to be the meta. Of course, if you care about meta, if you care about top rankings, this is just how it is. Same goes for your healer as well, right? Utility type characters like healers or even characters that move students around, you want to reserve them for the striker students. That's going to be the value of certain characters like Tracksuit Yuka and Idol Mary. In this case, she's a healer. I think those students are going to also be very, very important moving forward. Of course, this is not to say that Aqua and Himari is going to be completely destroyed whatsoever, right? You could probably still use them. Alright, so let's be honest, the meta in Blue Archive is not as strict as some other games, right? It's not that these two characters are power crap to the point that, you know, they are completely destroyed and you can never climb the ranks anymore with them. But it's just important to know and recognize which students are going to be the best of the best, the cream of the crop, and probably making your life a lot easier if you intend to stay relevant in the top rankings. So let's show you guys a little bit of examples as well. This is not from me, but for a variety of different other users that are JP veterans, hopefully give you guys a better idea of where the meta lies. So first up, Kaiten. Alright, Kaiten boss is going to be a little bit complex, right? Kaiten boss is going to be as you can see, we have two phases, right? In the first phase, you fight these particular rangers right here. Alright, you got the 5 rangers, you beat them up. So this is the student that was used. And then in the second phase, phase 2 right here, so you can see we got Kisaki being used right there. And then in this case, the DPS is going to be Dress Hina. But again, you know, you got Akko still being used there. By the way, this is before Rio comes out. Alright, this is like Rio haven't come out yet. So I'm going to show you guys 6 raid bosses up until Rio comes out and how the meta shifts afterwards. And then the next one, we're going to have the Gregorius. So Gregorius is going to be a little bit more complex as well. Alright, so obviously Gregorius, I think, is the boss is going to need a little bit more in terms of debuffs and stuff. But even then, you can see in this particular one, you can see Kisaki and Rio were being used right here alongside with these 4 students. And like I mentioned, Dress Aru was right there. So I believe this is the recent one. Next up, we have, this is going to be for Hieronymus. Now Hieronymus, this one was back then without Rio as well, but Nagisa is going to be very, very strong right here, right? Because Hieronymus, Nagisa just do a lot of extra. But this is going to be a little bit specialized as well, right? With Kokona being useful right there. And one team, this is going to be more than enough. With Dress Hina carrying it, and definitely this is going to be the staple team for a lot of players, but Kisaki is right there as well. So one more team, Hovercraft Wakamo. So a bit more complex, this is going to be a 2-team kind of thing. If you guys are not aware, Hovercraft Wakamo has the phase 1 where you're just fighting the Wakamo right here, right? As you can see, this is going to be for team 1 because you need CC, so it's going to be a little bit different. You got Mika right there and stuff, but team 2 is going to be where you're fighting the hovercraft itself, right? And then you can see Maki is going to be needed right there. Kisaki is being brought alongside with Neru and Utaha because of how the hovercraft mechanic works. You want to be able to multi-hit the enemies, but again, this is also before Rio was released, so keep in mind things might change once Rio comes out, right? But regardless, Kisaki still there. Next up, we got Gebura. Gebura has a very weird mechanic where you want to use special students DPS. Alright, so you don't want to use striker student DPS. So this one is also going to be a little bit different in terms of, you can see there are some characters that shine here more than other, right? But idol students are going to be very, very strong right here in particular. And you can see who is going to be the main DPS in this case, Satsuki right there, right? Satsuki is also going to be one of the students that I'm still contemplating is if it's going to be worth it or not, because she happens quite shortly after the idol students, alright? So you might... She is a standard banner character, right? But do you want to pull her specifically just for one boss? Because Gebura is pretty much where she's being used, right? For if you are like a low spender and free-to-play players, probably not, right? Just end up borrowing and just do insane, and that's just how it is, right? If you are trying to be efficient right there, yeah, so Gebura is where maybe Kisaki or Rio might not be needed that much, because this is going to be one of the few different exceptions. And last but not least, again, Kurokage is going to be one of the most recent boss. As you can see, Dress Aru right there alongside with Rio and Kisaki. So pretty much Kisaki has almost 100% usage rate if you compare to all the top. It's across multiple different players as well, right? So assuming this is going to be how it is, Kisaki is definitely going to be the strongest one. Now Rio, again, we pretty much just got her from JP. So after her is just Gebura, and then there's Kurokage as well, and she's being used in Kurokage as you can see. Gebura is going to be the place that you don't really use her as much, because you know that one is going to be a bit different. I can pretty much see the same staple students are going to be used numerous times, right? Again, for Gauss, alright, you are going to have one main DPS, and then you got Kisaki, Ryo, and then you got Dress Aru to buff that main DPS. Same goes for Bina, Hieronymus, same goes for that as well. HOD, maybe this one is a little bit different because there's a CC needs to be applied. Cheese can be also, this one also can be one of the few exceptions because of how the setup placement is going to be very important for you to basically move towards the small enemy, so AoE is going to be much more important here. Gregorius, it seems to be the case as well. I've seen that being used. Same goes for Hovercraft Wakamo, Shirokuro, Perozilla, pretty much. All of these are going to be surrounding these three meta supports. So definitely, if you are new watching this, make sure you guys consider getting these students. Alright, Kisaki is going to come next week. You gotta get ready. Get Kisaki, get the idol students, prepare for Ryo right afterwards. Again, with the shortening of the banners, things can be a little bit difficult, so try to pay close attention. So yeah, if you guys play for, you know, your favorite waifus, your favorite lollies, that's fine, alright? You can pull whoever you want, but if you care about meta, I believe that 3 is going to be the staple moving forward. So yeah, with that being said, that's going to be it for this particular video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. As per usual, subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video. Give this video a like. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.